Back to AM Jackson on WKHM, Jackson's News Talk 970 AM and 101.5 FM.
At 9:38 here on this Workday Thursday, getting ready to head out to Southern Michigan Bank and Trust here in just a little bit. At 10 o'clock, we'll be taking Talk Back Jackson on the road out at the corner of Weatherwax and Horton. So, yeah, we've got the microphone stretched, the few hundred feet, and we're looking forward to bringing you that broadcast here in just a bit. But right now, from Falzon Law, let's check in with Larry from Larry Falzon from Wigod Falzon. It's our Legal Bites monthly segment here on AM Jackson. Larry Falzon, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, it's good to talk to you, Mark. How are you?
There, I'm doing well. Did I get rid of that weird noise in the background?
A lot of beeping.
Everything is falling apart all at one time. So I'm glad you're here, so things can finally come together as they should be.
Okay, I fixed it all.
You did. We only hire the best here. So.
Right.
But
right.
All right. So with the road conditions like they have been this morning, I'm sure, and especially like the ice that we had not too long ago, does that result in driver faults, and do you get extra calls coming into the office?
Yeah, it's it's not an unusual thing to see an uptake in calls when the weather's this bad. There's a lot of slip and fall cases that are calling. They'll go to I had one the other day that were going into their gym, and apparently the company that's supposed to remove snow and salt the area didn't do so, probably because they were, had so many calls they had to get to, and they didn't get to this one, so this poor lady fell and cracked her head open.
Wow.
So yeah, the weather, you got to be really careful when you're out there. It's something called, we call it in the business black ice, and what it is, it's a phenomenon that occurs when there's some kind of a snow, then a melting, then another quick freeze, and that the melting turns into a very, very slick ice that if you're on a black top or a black pavement, you really think it's wet. And you hit it, and down you go, and there's no warning, nothing like that. And so you have to be extra careful when you're out there in parking lots, especially in weather like this.
When you have something like this happen, obviously they're going to go get the medical attention and seek that right away so they can get back to where they need to be. But I guess it wouldn't be unheard of for an at-fault business to kind of jump in the way there and say, oh, my gosh, we're so sorry. What can we do to help? Those kind of things. If someone experiences this, what after they go visit the doctor, what should they do?
Well, let me go before they get to the doctor. The part where you said, "Oh, a business will jump in and say, oh, we're so sorry. What can we do?" That rarely happens.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because and it's not their fault. They've been instructed by their insurance carriers not to engage with the person who fell, so that they don't want to be held liable in any way, and the insurance people tell them, hey, look, just don't talk to them, don't get involved. If they want to make a claim, you can do that. You can fill out the form, but we don't want you calling them ambulances and doing this. I had a fellow once who fell in the middle of a grocery store, and he was on the ground, and nobody would come and help him. And finally, they sent a bagger, a young guy, bags groceries. He went out and he said, my boss told me to tell you that you can lay there as long as you like, but we're closing in 6 minutes, so you have to do something. And we laugh and you think that can't possibly be, but it happens all the time. People, the insurance companies are very wary, and they don't want to ruin their coverage, so they'll do what the insurance people tell them, and so it's not so kind out there when people fall. In regards to your question, after, of course, they should get medical attention first, and then they should consider their options if they're going to lose time from work, if they're going to ring up medical bills. Typically, a commercial policy will have something on it called MedPay. and you can request that they pay medical bills up to that amount without even getting a lawyer involved. Typically, an insurance company has that coverage, and they will do that. But you got to be careful what you don't want to sign anything, because it could be signing away all your rights, not just the right to collect that small med pay coverage.
Okay. When it comes to communicating with your clients, it feels like with a lot of larger type of businesses, the concern could be that clients could get lost in the shuffle, or the newest client gets the most attention. You and I were talking before we went on the air. That's not the case with Wigod and Falzon. Tell us about the importance, the emphasis you put on communication with your clients.
Right. So communication is really vital. There's nothing that an attorney does or should do more than communicate with his client, and for obvious reasons. But the problem is that what we've gotten to, the point where we've gotten to, is that commercialism and the mega firms that are advertising on television, they bring in so many cases and so many clients that they've left their clients to secretaries, legal assistants, paralegals, and the actual attorneys don't get involved until much later when a case can't get settled and they have to litigate it. And by then, the period of time that has passed, you could have gone. I had a case once where this person thought and the doctors thought that they had a neck problem, and they kept going in for neck treatment, and finally they came to us and they said, well, my neck's not getting better. I want to hire an attorney. And I said, well, let's talk about it. And so they described, and I've been doing this for 40 years. So, mm-hmm. I'm not a doctor by no way, shape, or form, but there's a pattern to injury, right? So the gal was telling me, her problems and what she could and couldn't do physically. And I said, you sound like you have a torn rotator cuff. That doesn't sound like a neck problem. And lo and behold, she went to the doctor, mentioned that. He gave her an MRI, and she had a torn rotator cuff, bilateral, both sides. So you have to talk to your client, because you have to find out what problems they're having. If you don't know what problems they're having, not only can't you help them, make sure they're on the right track, but you can't, possibly represent them for all the injuries they have, because you don't know. And that's the big problem. People don't understand the legal system. They just don't. It's complicated. And the no-fault law for automobiles, it's the most complicated law you could ever run into. And yet, when it comes to people in the state of Michigan, insurance, whether it's health insurance or whether it's an auto insurance, these are the two biggest factors in their life, right? Because the government tells us if you want to drive a car in Michigan, you must get this kind of insurance, and yet nobody has bothered to tell them what that means. What does this insurance mean? What can I do? What can I do? What do I have to tell people? And so if an attorney's not there to communicate that, and all attorneys should act as fiduciaries for the people in this state. In other words, and we do. I mean, many attorneys, it's a free consultation. Nobody's going to charge you for information. It's not like, calling a patent lawyer and saying, hey, I've got a problem with this, invention. The guy, I want to be paid, so you come in and we'll talk about it and you're going to pay me. But for the majority of people in the state, if they have questions about whether or not they have a case or whether or not they should proceed against a certain party, most attorneys will give you, that free advice. And if they don't, there's something wrong, because that's what our job is, to help people and victims of injury to get on the right track. So communicate. I had a client the other day, new client, called, and I was her, I think, fourth attorney's office that she called. She had not talked to any attorney. She only talked to intake clerks, and they all told her, you don't have a case. And she called up, and my receptionist gave me the call, and I asked her questions about her case. And in fact, she did have a case. She had a very good case. But, I'm an attorney. I know what the law is. I understand the nuances of no fault. And if you're told by somebody on the telephone that you don't have a case, look around. You may find an attorney who wants to talk to you and will tell you what the facts are. And I've told people you don't have a case, right? Mm-hmm. So it does happen. You don't take everything, but I would rather have an attorney tell me I don't have a case than a clerk.
Well, let's talk about this for a second. Let's say there's somebody who's gone through that process, but they haven't called Wigod and Falzon yet to actually talk to you. Is there maybe this is something that's happened a while ago? Is there a statute on something like this? Do they have to make a claim or start the process within a certain number of years? Or if this
absolutely.
Is something, yeah. How long do they have typically?
Yeah. Well, it depends on the case. So, for instance, an automobile case, when you're suing for your pain and suffering, it's a 3-year statute. Unless it's a municipal vehicle, and then it's shortened to 2 years. Plus, if it's a municipal vehicle, they have a notice provision that's 6 months, so you have to give notice within 6 months.
Okay.
Medical malpractice is 2 years, but you have to let the entity, whether it's a hospital or a doctor, you have to let them know 6 months before the 2-year period runs, or you're out of luck. No fault has what we call a 1-year back rule, which means that if you go to a doctor and they charge you, you only have 1 year to get that bill paid by your no fault carrier, or it's waived. So you have to, get that going right away, including your wages. If you're off work and the insurance company hasn't paid you your lost wages, and you let that go over a year, every day over that year, you lose that benefit. It's a rolling 1-year statute.
Right.
So, it gets complicated, and you've got to act quickly.
You have to act quickly. So if someone's actually kind of gone through those steps, they've called this lawyer, that lawyer, whatever, and they've gotten that story from them, give Wigod and Falzon a call if you're within that limit, and get the right answers. Best way to get a hold of
you. Even if you don't know the limit, call and we'll tell you if you've passed the time or not.
Okay. Best way to get a hold of you.
The best way is to call our number. There are several. If you go on the website, there's several numbers on there. It's, falzonlaw.com. Email us at falzonlaw.com. You can call 877-2-GET-PAID. That's the 800 number.
Okay.
So, a lot of ways.
All right. falzonlaw.com. A simple Google search is going to get you right there as well. So make sure that you find
exactly
Wigod and Falzon online, falzonlaw.com. Larry Falzon joining us here today on Legal Bites. And by the way, we've got email set up connected to our website, too. If you'd like to have a question fielded here on Legal Bites, we'll make that happen for you as well. So, hey, anything left untouched you'd like our listeners to know, Larry Falzon, before we run out of time here?
Just that get the information. If you get into an accident, call somebody, because, there's a lot of benefits out there that you may be missing, and a lot of rights, and there's a lot of attorneys in Michigan, and some of them are darn good attorneys. So we, of course, want you to call us, but if you don't, call somebody so you're not missing out.
Well, you guys, you have a relatively new office here in Jackson, too.
Yep, around Main Street, so we can meet you there. If you'd prefer, we'd come out to your house. Any way we can help you, we will.
Larry Falzon.
All you got to do is call and let us know.
Larry Falzon, Wigod and Falzon with Legal Bites today here on AM Jackson. Larry, as always, a pleasure. Looking forward to our conversation already for next month.
Okay, we'll see you, Mark. Take care.
Take care. Be careful on the roads.
You too.
And the black ice. All right, we'll talk to you.
Yeah, watch out. Bye-bye.
You're listening to AM Jackson on News Talk 970 AM 101.5 FM. It is